The Supreme Court just ended its session with another couple of big rulings that will have implications here in California. Joining us now to talk about it is Professor James Taylor with USF. Thanks for being here. Let's start off with the one affecting the EPA, and this could have broad implications on the federal government's ability to combat climate change.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, this was a administrative case. And it basically put power back at the state level and suggested to the federal government across the board. This includes, for example, the SEC, the FCC, the IRS, and any other federal agencies that their powers are not, as the court said, unheralded regulatory power. So for that reason, the court is signaling that there are limits to federal power, which we all know. But in this particular case, the court is saying that the administrative agencies cannot arbitrarily spread their power throughout the country over all issues and areas. It's limited.
So is this another states' right issue?
It becomes states' right. That's the implication. Is the court is being consistent with Roe v. with the Roe overturning. It's saying everything goes back to the states. This is sort of undermining the administrative state, which was a part of the larger ideology of MAGA. And so, as you see this happening at the court level, yes, you are seeing the Supreme Court tell the executive branch that its powers are limited in terms of administration over areas like taxes or communications on radio, media. The SEC has limits in its regulations. Again, the EPA doesn't have sovereignty over all of the areas that it thinks it did.
Now, California's obviously been a leader when it comes to trying to combat climate change. What does this mean for our state, and what do you think that our government will do about it going forward? Take more of a leadership role?
It strengthens the hands of the state. It actually strengthens states. It strengthens state houses. It strengthens the hand of Governor Newsom to do what California thinks it needs to do to deal with its specific environmental issues. And so for that reason, at the state level, it's great for Democrats. But at the national level, I'm sure liberals and progressives are discouraged by that regulation turnback.
Right. Okay. So when it comes to states' rights, I just want to take this out to Prop 12, which the Supreme Court's going to be covering next fall. Does this give an indication that perhaps the court might be willing to accept California's separate rules for animal rights?
I mean, we'll have to see if the court is consistent, because in California, you had a reaction with Governor Newsom reacting to Texas's reproductive rights regulations by allowing citizens to sue gun manufacturers. And that has not been tested yet. So if the court is consistent, it would suggest that Gavin Newsom and in Sacramento have a administrative power to oversee and to allow people to sue gun manufacturers. But again, the court might decide that that's too much regulation over the right of people in their Second Amendment rights. So we'll see how the court sort of splits the hairs around these issues, because again, the different states, what we're seeing as a result of Roe, kind of reflecting what Tim Russert told us years ago about blue state, red state, our divide is now sort of panning out in terms of how the court is ruling. The court is sort of ruling that there's a blue America and a red America. There's a blue America on reproductive rights. There's a red America on reproductive rights. There's a blue America on guns. There's a red America on guns. And of course, Abraham Lincoln said a long time ago, a nation divided against itself cannot stand. So this is a problem because, again, as much as the court is giving power to states, will it be consistent when blue states again try to use more administrative authority over areas that allow for capital or more money to be made in the marketplace? Again, the regulatory state was told today, you have limited power, and it knows it had limited power. But the court wanted to remind the Biden administration across the board, throughout Washington D.C. and throughout the country, your powers are not absolute.
Very interesting. And let's touch on the other big ruling on Thursday. That was the potential end of the Remain in Mexico policy when it comes to immigrants seeking asylum. What is that going to mean?
Yeah, I think again this is somewhat consistent with the ruling related to states' rights in that even though it's Texas versus Biden, it seems like the court is suggesting that it's Biden's obligations related to Trump's administrative policies, and the court, which might favor Texas, is focusing more on Biden's obligations to carry out the policies established by Trump, and the court is saying no, that the Biden administration is not duty bound or bound by the decisions of the Trump administration related to remain in Mexico, and this was related to Central America, and which is ironic because we had the image of Kamala Harris, the vice president, going there and telling the people, stay home, don't come to America. And yet Biden is suing the Trump administration. I think more because it wants to have the freedom to establish its own policies. And you see in Texas, Governor Abbott, the timing of Governor Abbott's accusations that the terrible finding yesterday of the 50 plus human beings in this truck were Biden's fault because of his policies. The timing of that is just not good for Biden because it's almost indefensible. And yet Texas is saying, we'll take over from here. And so again, even though these two cases seem only marginally connected, the consistency between them is the states' rights aspects and the federal administrative limits aspects.
And that is what we will see again playing out with this Prop 12 debate coming up this fall. So we will keep our eye on all of it. Thanks so much for your insight, Professor James Taylor with USF. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ann.